Some cities hide terrifying secrets. Their streets, buildings, and even highway alleys bear silent witness to murders committed years before. A reign of terror began in the 1980s and lasted for decades on the south side of Los Angeles. No one knew the cause, but the victims were always the same: poor, vulnerable, and often black women living on the fringes of society. For years, a monster, overlooked by both the police and the public, lay dormant for 14 years before re-emerging. Welcome to the unforgettable story of Lonnie David Franklin Jr., aka the Grim Sleeper, a city's silent scream. In the mid-1980s, for residents of the south side of Los Angeles, nightfall was not just the end of a day, but the beginning of an unknown terror. Police were unsure whether the initial killing spree belonged to a single killer. At the time, other cases were generating significant media and public interest, and these murders, unfortunately, were not receiving the attention they deserved. The murders of these women, marginalized by society, were brushed aside like a footnote. Activist Margaret Prescott and the Black Coalition, led by her, rebelled against this situation. They harshly criticized the police for not giving the extraordinary attention they paid to serial killer Richard Ramirez, who committed murders in upscale neighborhoods, to the murders in their own neighborhood. Prescott's words at the time best summed up this injustice. Are our women's lives any less valuable? This question would remain unanswered for decades. Franklin's murders continued under the shadow of this indifference. On a cold January day in 1984, Sharon Alicia Dismuke, the first victim prosecutors would later attribute to Franklin, was murdered. Then in August 1985, 29-year-old Deborah Ronette Jackson was found shot 3 times in the chest in an alley. This murder would be the first case linked to Franklin's identity through DNA evidence. If you've watched this far and enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and like it. Now that we've provided this reminder, we can continue with the video. The cold and systematic nature of the murders. Franklin followed a gruesome pattern when choosing his victims. He typically used a .25 caliber weapon, shooting them dead and dumping their bodies in alleys or trash cans in remote Los Angeles neighborhoods. In 1986, Henrietta Wright's body was found under a mattress, as if the killer had tried to conceal the gruesome act as a work of art. That same year, a suspected male victim was added to the killing spree: Thomas Sylvester Steele. Police suspected Steele was killed because he had witnessed one of Franklin's crimes, but they were never able to definitively link the murder to Franklin. Throughout 1987 and 1988, Franklin's murders continued. Barbara Bethune-Ware, Bernita Rochelle Sparks, Mary Catherine Lowe, Lacrica Denise Jefferson, and Alicia Monique Alexander. Each victim, each a symbol of tragedy. The short intervals between the killings suggested the killer was ruthless and unstoppable. But the spree came to an abrupt halt in late 1988. Anitra Margette Washington, the sole survivor of Franklin's attack, recounted the night in vivid detail. The man she had gotten into suddenly attacked her and shot her. However, Washington, despite being covered in blood, survived. His testimony would have revealed the face of this monster, but sadly, no one could find it at the time. After this incident, Franklin disappeared for 14 years. This incredibly long silence earned him the nickname Grim Sleeper. This nickname was not just a name, but a description that encapsulated the gruesome nature of the murders and the killer's mysterious disappearance. Sleep prepares for a return. So what happened during this 14-year sleep? Franklin's sudden abandonment of the murders was a major mystery to investigators. Throughout those years, he lived an ordinary life as a married father of 2, but beneath his ordinary life lay a horrific past. In 1974, he was convicted of gang a 17-year-old girl in West Germany, an incident that served as an early indicator of his sexual deviance. His habit of photographing the women would reoccur years later with his victims in Los Angeles. Although Franklin wasn't fully functioning as a serial killer, the presence of the beast within him was always present. In the early 2000s, the Grim Sleeper awakened and resumed his killing spree. In 2000, Georgia Mae Thomas was murdered, and in 2002, Princess Cheyenne Berthomeu, just 15 years old, was murdered. The murders of Valerie Louise McCorvey in 2003 and Janecia Lavette Peters in 2007 were the latest in this horrific series. Janisha Peters' murder was a turning point in the case. DNA found at the scene matched the 1985 murders. The Los Angeles Police Department, secretly working from the public, established a new team called the 800 Task Force. While detectives worked quietly, investigative journalist Christine Polisek uncovered that the police were covering up the murders. This revelation, under pressure from the public and the media, spurred police action. A familial connection in the uncovery of terrifying secrets. A years-long investigation finally came to light with a familial DNA match. Police compared the DNA found at the murder scenes to California's criminal database. While not an exact match, they found a similarity to the DNA of Franklin's son, Christopher, who was serving time for a felony weapons offense. It was impossible for Christopher to have committed the murders, but this resemblance was a strong clue that led suspicions to his father, Lonnie Franklin. Detectives began secretly following Franklin. While he was dining at a restaurant, a police officer, disguised as a waiter, took a piece of the pizza Franklin was eating. In an operation reminiscent of a movie scene, Franklin's DNA was seized. When the lab results came back, their suspicions were confirmed. The DNA on the pizza piece matched the DNA found on the victims. On July 7, 2010, Lonnie David Franklin Jr. was arrested. A search of Franklin's home revealed a horrific scene beyond the police's wildest expectations. Hundreds of photos and videos of women and girls were found everywhere. Most of these women were naked, some unconscious. This collection provided concrete evidence demonstrating the sheer number of victims Franklin had over the years. Police released these photos to the public for identification. Franklin was tried for 10 murders and 1 attempted murder. In 2016, a jury found him guilty of all crimes. The same jury sentenced him to death. This decision represented a measure of justice for the victims' families. However, before Franklin could serve his sentence, he was found dead in his cell in 2020. Lonnie Franklin's story has left an unprecedented dark stain on Los Angeles' recent history. This story is not only a portrait of a serial killer, but also a painful lesson in how society's most vulnerable are overlooked, how slow justice can sometimes be, and how vital a role technology plays in fighting crime. What do you think of this complex and frightening story? Don't forget to share it with me in the comments. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. See you in another video. Take care. Goodbye.